So today we are reading from the 7th canto, 8th chapter, 7th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I ask you to try to pay special attention to what the point is. I may say some things that are incorrect so that you may catch them, so listen carefully to see what they are. And if I make any mistakes, you also let me know, because I am full of mistakes. But I'm asking Srila Prabhupada and the whole parampara to bring the torchlight of knowledge, to take away the darkness of ignorance that I'm born in. So first we will chant the invocation. Which invocation would you like? The first few words of the first canto, the first few words of the second canto, or the mantra that Dhruva Maharaj chanted in the forest? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Prahlad Uvacha. Na Kevalam Me Bhavatas Cha Rajan Sa Vai Balam Balinam Chaparisham Pare Vare Mi Stira Jangama Ye Brahmanandayo Ye Vasam Pranitaha Shri Prahlad Uvacha Na Kevalam Me Bhavatas Charajan Savai Balam Balinam Chaparisham Pare Vare Mistira Jangamaye Brahmadayo Yena Vasam Pranita Shri Prahlad Uvacha Na Kevalam Me Bhavatas Charajan Savai Balam Balinam Chaparisham Pare Vare Mistira Jangamaye Brahmanandayo Ye Vasam Pranita Shri Prahlad Uvacha Na Kevalam Me Bhavatas Charajan Savai Balam Balinam Chaparisham Pare Vare Mistira Jangamaye Brahmanandayo Yena Vasam Pranita Shri Prahlad Uvacha. Prahlad Maharaj replied, Na, not. Kevalam, only. Me, of me. Bhavata, of yourself. Cha, and. Rajan, O great king. Sa, he. Vai, indeed. Balam, strength. Balinam, of the strong. Cha, and. Aparesham, of others. Pare, exalted. Avare, subordinate. Ami, those. Sthirajangamaha, moving or non-moving living entities. Yea, who? Brahma Adya, beginning from Lord Brahma. Yena, by whom? Vasam, under control. Pranitaha, brought. Brought, not brought. One letter makes the difference. Translation. Sri Prahlad Maharaj said, "My dear king, the source of your strength, of which you are asking, is also the source of yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only your strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength, whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior. Everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the personality of Godhead." Just remember here that Prahlad Maharaj is just a 5-year-old boy, and he's talking to Hiranyakashipu, which we'll discuss a little later, who's a very big person and has a very bad attitude. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita 10:41, "Yad yad vibhumat sattvam Srimad urjitam eva va tad tad eva gacha tvam mamatejo misha sambhavam." Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty manifestations spring from but a spark of my splendor. This is confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. If one sees extraordinary strength or power anywhere, it is to be derived from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To give an example, there are different grades of fire, but all of them derive heat and light from the sun. Similarly, all living entities, big or small, are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One's only duty is to surrender, for one is a servant and cannot independently attain the position of a master. One can attain the position of a master only by the mercy of the master, not independently. Unless one understands this philosophy, he is still a Muda. In other words, he is not very intelligent. The Mudas, the asses, who do not have this intelligence, cannot surrender under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding this subordinate position of the living entity takes millions of births. But when one is actually wise, he surrenders under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Listen to these carefully, there will be a test later on. The Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita, "Bahumam gyanmanante, gnanivam mam prapajyate, vasudeva sarvamiti, sa mahatma sudurlabha." After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Prahlad Maharaj was a great soul, a Mahatma, and therefore he completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. He was confident that Krishna would give him protection under all circumstances. Om Jnana Timranya Sagana Gana Salakaya Chaksurin Militanyena Tasma Ishri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mani Vistam Stapitamina Bhutali Rupa. So I'm asking the spiritual master to come with the torchlight of knowledge, because I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and therefore I need the special help of the torchlight of knowledge to shine some knowledge on this. So, in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj is talking about the source of the strength. And tell me if this is correct or not. According to this, that most people have to get their strength from Krishna. Now, of course, if someone is Lord Brahma, they have their own strength. Or if someone is born in a Brahmin family, they're very special, and they don't have to depend on Krishna's strength. This is why we find in the 13th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma was going to prove that he had his own power and he could trick Krishna. And he put the cows and the cowherd boys in a cave, and therefore he tricked Krishna. Are these premises correct? No. Did Brahma think they were correct? Did he? Did he think he was going to trick Krishna?
Yes.
He thought so. Did it work out real well?
No.
No. Yeah, it did work out well, but it worked out really well. Whenever something is involved with Krishna, it works out well no matter what. That is the point, like I was making the point in the beginning. Which invocation do you want? It's like when Vaisheshika is doing books, he asks people, are you from here or are you from somewhere else? And whatever it is, the point is, this is a reason to take books. So of course, all three of those invocations are the same. The point is to get people to choose the devotional service, however we do it. So Lord Brahma thought this. And even though his plan didn't work out well, it actually worked out real well for him. Do some Brahmins and politicians and businessmen think that they also have their own strength?
Yes.
Does it work out well for them? No. That is the point that we are looking at here. And we find this point is brought up. We find in another example, even as devotees, we can let this go to our head. I am thinking I'm such a great person because I can speak loud through the microphone, but it is only because I'm plugged into the powerhouse. You unplug it and I cannot speak very loud. And in either case, I cannot speak very sweetly. But by Krishna's mercy, maybe I can speak loud. We see this example of devotees thought they had the strength, and of course my service is important, correct? Lord Ramachandra was building a bridge to Lanka, and they were throwing the stones into the water. So Hanuman, of course, moving the big stones, and a squirrel is in his way, kicking some dust into the water. And Hanuman says, move out of the way. I am building the bridge to Lanka. And the squirrel says, but I am trying to help also. Hanuman says, what can you do? You're just a little squirrel. You can only kick a little dust. Lord Ramachandra comes on the scene and he says, Hanuman, what are you doing? He said, I am trying to help build this bridge to Lanka, and this squirrel is trying to kick dust and he is in my way. And Lord Ramachandra asks him the question, Hanuman, where do you get your strength? He says, I get it from you, my lord. And Lord Ramachandra says, where does the squirrel get his strength? Hanuman says, he also gets it from you. And Lord Ramachandra says, then each of you is working to your own capacity. That this is the important point to have, is that whether we are big or small, we are connected to Krishna's divine power. And that is the point that we need to do. Not to think how great I am or how small I am, but can I connect to Krishna's power? And when we connect to Krishna's power, we get so many benefits. We get to take shelter of him. We all want some kind of shelter. Last night I was lecturing in Bhagavad-Gita how people take in shelter of insatiable lust. How does that work out? Not very well. Then people take shelter of intoxication. How does that work out? Worse. Even worse, right? You think some things are bad, but there's always something worse. But, and Prabhupada says we're trying to think that some material enjoyment is wet stool and some is dry stool. If I can just get the dry stool, I'm not doing so bad. But it's better just to stay out of all the stool, because one may be worse, but they're both very unpalatable. So if we connect with Krishna's power, we get all of these benefits by connecting. We get to have Krishna's love, Krishna's mercy, and we feel things like tranquility and peace. And this is the point. If we connect to Krishna's mercy, it doesn't matter what is going on. We'll be protected. And if we don't connect to Krishna's mercy, it doesn't matter who we are, we won't be protected. So this is the point that is being made by Prahlad Maharaj. This is why in this world we find that we are worshiping people who have the qualities of God in minute degree. If someone is very rich, we are very enamored by them. If someone is very beautiful, we think, wow, we can get something from them. They go to the movies to see the beautiful person in the 2-dimension. I see my great-granddaughter on the screen and she's trying to touch the picture in the 2nd dimension. So just like they are watching the movies, a dimension is missing. Even in the 3rd dimension, something is missing. Because in Bhagavatam, it is said that Krishna is in the 4th dimension. So people are looking for these people who are all famous, who are, not all famous, but famous. They are powerful. They have money. They have good looks. They have intelligence. And instead, they are going to a movie to watch them in the 2nd dimension. We are already in the 3rd dimension. Instead of going to the 2nd dimension to watch pictures of impermanent people with minuscule qualities, why not go to the 4th dimension and watch Krishna, who has supreme intelligence, supreme love, supreme beauty, supreme power, and supreme renunciation. Some of those people have renunciation, but not very many. It's not so popular. Tell people, oh, we're going to do some austerities today. You'd like to visit? That will keep them away usually. So we find if we were looking for the most powerful person, why not Krishna? Why are we looking for these infinitesimal living beings to give us this power? And what is amazing is when we have this power, that we see what is important. We see that Krishna's mercy is the important thing upon us. And this is why Prabhupada is saying in this verse that after many births and deaths, someone will surrender to Krishna. Because people, when Krishna is explaining about the people who surrender to Krishna, he explains why certain people do not. And we see these people, some of them may be very important people. Or they do what's popular. If I do what's popular, I have to be okay. This is the Naradama. If we do what's popular, as long as what's popular is serving Krishna, we're okay. But we shouldn't do it because it's popular. We should do it because we want to serve Krishna. Because if we're doing something else, we follow what 99.9% of the people are doing, we're going to end up not surrendering to Krishna. The Muda just works like the ass. He doesn't get to Krishna. Some people have so much knowledge. They may be a great businessman. They may be born in a Brahmin family. They may have studied science. But their knowledge is Maya Prita Jnana. It's stolen by illusion. So they're still suffering from trouble. And then, of course, we have the out-and-out demon like Hiranyakashipu that Prahlad Maharaj is talking to. And this is what is amazing. When one realizes, after many births and deaths, that Krishna is the cause of all causes. I heard Prabhupada quote this verse many times in 1970 when we used to have 2 feasts in. First feast was in Laguna at noon. Then we would, myself and Badri Narayan Swami and Bayahari would stay at the temple Saturday night when we were in high school, and we would help the devotees make the feast because the feast was at noon. And then we would drive to LA and have a second feast with Prabhupada. And many times Prabhupada quoted this verse, that after many births and deaths, one who is actually wise surrenders to Krishna. knowing him to be the cause of all causes. Because we see back with these people who have some qualities, if one person is very loving, but he doesn't have much power, we may surrender to him, but he probably can't help us too much. And what about the person who has lots of power but no love? That's even worse, isn't it? The other person, at least they love us, but they can't help us. The other person has power, but they don't want to help us. And this is why we surrender to Krishna, because he's the cause of all causes. He not only has some of these qualities, he has all of these qualities and in complete degree. So why would we surrender to someone else who can't help us? We go to the 2-dimension, watch them on the movie screen. And then they watch the Indian TV waiting for the program that isn't boring. Good luck with that, right? I hear that they're all very boring, right? They sit on the couch and talk to each other. We don't need a TV for that. We can do that ourselves, can't we? And we talk about better things than what they're talking about. So we see this is the amazing thing, is that Prahlad Maharaj is just a 5-year-old boy. But because he is connected to this powerhouse and he is surrendered to Krishna, he can talk to this demon and not be afraid. But what is amazing with this circumstance, we know a couple verses back that Prahlad Maharaj said he gave some pretty good insults. If you want to insult someone, you use the things that Hiranyakashipu did. You say those things to most people, they'll either hit you or they will go away. Or maybe you'll pay them to go away, right? And what does Prahlad Maharaj do? Does he become insulted and become afraid? Or does he retaliate and say, I'll get you? Does he do these? Or does he just remain humble, not afraid, and he remembers what the point is? The point is to present the philosophy of who is the most powerful and why I should surrender to him. And no one is exempt from needing this power. Even Lord Brahma, even Lord Indra. If the great persons have to connect to this power, then what about ourselves? We connect to this power. The interesting thing we find is, even if someone is Lord Brahma or Lord Indra, if they go against Krishna, then all their power won't help them. And if we have little power, or we suffer from calamities, distress, reverses, if we surrender to Krishna, we go through it being happy and joyous and tranquil and free from distress, and come out the other side becoming a greater person. This is pretty interesting. One person thinks they have lots of power and tries to make everything work, and yet they suffer. Someone else is just a small living entity. All the things seem to be against them, and yet somehow or other they are not worried. We read what the first quality of a devotee is: fearlessness. Why is he fearless? Because he has nothing to fear. Why does he have nothing to fear? Because he's connected to the all-powerful, all-loving person. So this is why Krishna mentions this in the 19th verse of the 7th chapter, that this is a wise person. Don't we want a most loving, most powerful person? Wouldn't it be wise to surrender to them? And if we don't, we fit in one of those 4 categories that we discussed. So don't be one of those 4 categories. Those people are all unfortunate, no matter who they think they are. And we don't want to be an unfortunate person. We want to have fortune. And anybody can connect to this fortune. This is why these devotees are proving to us that even in adverse conditions, they are happy just to do the service to Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj is just thinking how he can present the ability to surrender to Krishna, even when it's in difficulty, even when he's being insulted. He still presents this to his father. We don't like the difficulties, do we? We don't usually pray for difficulties. Some people do, because they realize the benefit. If every time there's a difficulty, you get 5 crores of rupees, do you want a difficulty? Yes. What's better than 5 crores of rupee? Krishna's association. This is why Kunti Devi prays to Krishna that whenever there was difficulties, you were here. Therefore, I pray that these difficulties happen again and again. Now, of course, no one would pray for the difficulties without the benefit. Like if I tell you, if I cause you some difficulties, I will give you 5 crores of rupees. Will you say okay? What if I say I will give you 50 pice? No, now it's not worth it, right? So it's not that the difficulties are good, it's just that the benefit outweighs the cost. This is why when distributors like Vaisheshika are distributing books, he wants to get their attention and show them that the value of this book is much more than the cost of that book. And if the value is much more than the cost, they give a big donation and feel bad that they couldn't give more because they see the value is more than the cost. And this is what Prahlad Maharaj is showing us, that when we surrender to Krishna, the value is so high, it doesn't matter what the cost is. We all suffer some of these difficulties. Arjuna had this difficulty. He was there with Krishna. Krishna knew the difficulty was coming up. Krishna knows our problems before we do. We try to hide from them. Krishna doesn't hide from them. And in Vrindavan, he doesn't let us hide from them either. So Arjuna was all ready to do battle, and Krishna draws the chariot between the 2 armies, and he says, behold the 2 armies that are here. Behold the mighty Kurus, because he knows Arjuna is going to balk at this and suffer some difficulty. So Arjuna suffered some difficulty. How did he get out of this difficulty? By surrendering to Krishna. Because even though he is the mighty bowman, when he loses his purpose, he becomes powerless. So we of ourselves are powerless. That's okay. But when we connect to Krishna, we can have power. And we can relate to the stories that happened to some of these devotees. I got saruchi'd myself. You know what that means? I had a bad stepmother, right? But I'm not the only one. Dhruva Maharaj had this. In India, you may not relate, but in the West, sometimes we have this. Dhruva Maharaj went to go sit on the lap of his father. And his stepmother, Saruchi, said, you can't sit on the lap of your father because you're not my child. You have to be born from my womb. And I remember how my father would say, oh, my new wife can't have guests now, so please don't come now. And I saw this amazingly. My daughter had a child very young, so I had a child at 22 and she had the child at 15. So when I would go to the high school open house night, I would think, am I going to look funny coming with a younger woman? But there was men there older than me with wives younger than my daughter. And of course the new wife, the Saruchi, says, I'm sorry, your children are not allowed to visit. So Dhruva Maharaj was not the only one this happened to. And he was not very happy, as anyone in this condition would not be happy. So he asked his mother, what do I do? You know, I want a kingdom better than my father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. How can I get this? He says, well, go to the forest, pray to Lord Vishnu, he can help you. So he was on the way to the forest, and Narada Muni told him, you're just a small boy, what can you do? Why are you going to the forest? You know, do this later. So did he go home? No, he was determined to get the benefit because he knew that it didn't matter what the cost is. The value is if I get Vishnu or Krishna, I have everything. I don't need anything else. So he went to the forest and he chanted a mantra. What was it? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Krishna appeared before him. And then did he want this kingdom? No. Did he get it anyway? Did he get the pole star? He got it anyway. This is the amazing thing. When we get Krishna, we have everything we need, and we don't need the other things, but Krishna will give them to us. But the point is, we have to realize that whatever things we have, we're supposed to use them in Krishna's service. Not use them just for our own self-aggrandizement. It's true that many people think the purpose of life is to engage in unlimited sense gratification. These people are described in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, but they are not described as the devotees, and they are described as having unlimited anxiety. That doesn't sound like much fun, does it? If I tell you, hey, you want to do something that will give you unlimited anxiety? Want to sign up? No, we don't want to sign up. But do most people sign up for it? Because next time will be better, right? If I stick a fork in the socket, I get a big shock and it hurts. But next time it'll be better. Isn't it true? No, it isn't true. But do people think this way? This is what they call some kind of insanity. So Dhruva Maharaj was also a small boy, but Krishna appeared to him, helped him out. We find this is what is amazing in performing Krishna's service. Materially, some people invest in things. Some people invested in this currency exchange, Forex, and they thought they had a chance to make big money, but it all got frozen. So are they frustrated? Yeah. So was it a success? No. Now, for serving Krishna, we may be able to build a big, wonderful temple like this. We may do lots of books like some of the distributors do. But if we try to perform service and it doesn't work out, are we a failure? No. Or do we get the benefit just for performing the service? We have an example. This is why with courage we have to try to serve Krishna no matter what we think will happen. Because if we surrender to Krishna, we get the benefit anyway. Ramachandra had been banished to the forest, and his wife Sita Devi had been kidnapped by Ravana. And the bird Jatayu saw this. He's just a bird, what can he do? So he tried to stop Ravana. And Ravana beat him to such a degree that it's called a mortal wound, meaning that he's not dead yet, but he will die. So he lay there dying, and he was not able to stop Ravana. But yet Lord Rama came along and found him dying and held him up in his arms and did the funeral ceremony for him. Amazing, he's just a bird. And he tried to stop Ravana and he didn't even succeed. But yet, he was revered by the Lord himself, Lord Ramachandra, who lifted him up. We can see these examples in our own life, especially in the life of Srila Prabhupada. He went to America and didn't know which way to turn, and some people caused him difficulties, but he went on trying to establish Krishna consciousness against all obstacles. And the result comes. Even when we are having to deal with demons, like Prahlad Maharaj is doing, we still present the truth and hope the best for these people. We are trying to be helpful to people. Of course, if we can find people who are innocent, and best of the innocent are the teachable, we spend more time with them. It's amazing. I asked Pragosh once, how are you successful doing books? He said, I spend 90% of the time with the 10% most likely to buy. You'll find many people may not be interested. So instead of wasting the time with them, you take the interested person and try to get him very interested. But at least you try with everyone. You give everyone an opportunity. But you continue with the people who seem to be more interested. This is what Prabhupada did. Sometimes it only takes one person. He went to Russia. He said there was no fruits, no flowers, no freedom, and no Vaishnavas. I remember I was in Mumbai. I got my Gayatri initiation the day before Prabhupada went to Russia, and the mangoes had just arrived. And Tamal Krishna Goswami said, Prabhupada, you can't go to Russia now. The mango season has just begun. And Prabhupada said, preaching in the snows of Russia is sweeter than the sweetest mango. So I thought about how wonderful that was to do some preaching, that it was sweeter, because those mangoes came. I remember seeing the big basket. They came in a big basket. At that time, you could get like 12 mangoes for a rupee, and the really good ones were like the big special ones were 1 rupee each. Those were the best ones if you could even get them. Now I think they're more money, right? Back then, a lakh of rupees was a lot of money. You could buy places in Bangalore for 1 lakh of rupees. Now the crore is the new lakh. But Prabhupada went through big difficulties. I know myself, I went through some difficulties like that. I went to South Africa with Rishi Kumar Swami, and one day the thieves came. And 4 of them had guns, and 1 of them had a crowbar. And the one with the crowbar, they stuck a gun in my head and said, get under the bed. And the one with the crowbar said, shoot him. And one with the gun said, no, we don't need to kill him. And they are arguing, and I'm chanting on my Veeds very nicely. I don't think, well, I'll chant better tomorrow, because there wasn't going to be a tomorrow, right? So I chanted very clearly, because this is my last round. I better make it a good one. And I chanted 2 very good rounds. And then the woman she actually locked them out of the bedroom. They went to look for the safe, and she locked them out and went to the window and yelled, chore, 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 and so they ran off, and we were saved. But you know, I don't resent that opportunity, because I was able to really surrender to Krishna during those 2 rounds, because I knew, I said, Krishna, this is it, isn't it? I said, this is it. This is my chance. I probably got 60, I'm going to go 40 not, so I better really surrender to you. So we shouldn't resent or hide from the opportunities to surrender, because they find that even if we're stuck in front of Hiranyakashipu, or in front of people trying to shoot us, or Prabhupada in a whole demoniac nation all alone, that these opportunities will help us to surrender and advance and develop love for Radha and Krishna. And this is the point, to connect to that power through surrender. If something easy happens, we're happy. If something difficult happens, we're also happy for that. When I was in this country, South Africa, with the Swami, one day I woke up and Rishi Kumar Swami was gone. And I looked everywhere and I found a note, Dear Shuddhi, decided to split. And I thought, I'm in a country where both the white people and the black people want to kill me. And that's like 80% and 10% of population. And some were mixed, and 2.5% were Indians. So most of the people wanted to kill me there. And he left me alone and took the money. And I thought, well, I better just write to Prabhupada exactly what happens. And I wrote to Prabhupada that he had taken $700, he'd taken some money with him and left me all alone, but I was going to stay on. So this wasn't easy, because we were 2 miles from any neighbors and 2,000 miles from any devotees and people who wanted to kill me, and now I'm in debt for $10,000. And I wrote to Prabhupada, and I told him all the things I was going to do. Even though I'm in debt, I'm going to order more books. Well, this sounds bad, doesn't it? And use those to pay off the ones. And I thought, this, even though it's true, it doesn't sound good. So a letter came back from Srila Prabhupada very quickly. And I thought, maybe I'm in trouble. And so I opened the top of it, and the first line said, I'm very much pleased. I said, well, the rest has to be good, right? And then it says, at the responsibility you've taken to spread Krishna consciousness in South Africa at such a young age. So now I'm not at a young age, but I can still take some responsibility. There are many devotees that are greater than me, more powerful. But the point is that we all try to work together. We don't pull a Rishi Kumar. You don't just leave a note and say, I'm gone. The next letter from Prabhupada came with a receipt, because Rishi Kumar went to Mumbai, and I'm told that Prabhupada said, you left that young boy all alone and took the money with you. You give me what money you had. And so he gave Prabhupada $700, and Prabhupada credited that to my book bill and sent me a receipt for $700. I didn't ask Prabhupada, please track him down and get some money back, but he did anyway. So this shows us that Srila Prabhupada will cover us and protect us, even when we don't ask. If we just say that we're trying to engage in service, they will make it easier for us. We see Prahlad Maharaj appears to be just a 5-year-old boy. And I know that I am not qualified. But I know that if I know I'm not qualified, and I don't just kind of ask for mercy, but I beg for mercy, then Krishna can help me in spite of myself. And if I don't, if I think, oh, I was given Brahmin initiation, or someone thinks they're born in a Brahmin family, or we think how much money we have, or we think what we don't have. If I think all of the things I have or don't have, then I'm depending on myself. But that's the way we are. It doesn't matter how big or little we are. I may not be much, but I'm all I think about. One friend of mine says that, right? Oh, I'm so great, I'm so bad. But that isn't the point. The point is to think how great Krishna is and surrender unto him. And then we get, as Prabhupada's explaining in the purport to the verse before this, that the relationship between the pure devotee and Krishna is very relishable. So the opportunities that help us surrender to Krishna, good and bad, give us a relishable relationship of prema with Radha and Krishna. And if we get that, we have everything. And that's the point. Are there any questions, comments, or other corrections? Yes? My mic? Oh. See, if you grab the power, you can speak to everyone. But if you don't have the power, you're disconnected. Hare Krishna.
Just like you are giving example of Ramchandra and Hanuman.
Yes.
And the school, he is getting the protection. He is asking Hanuman, you are getting protection from me. And the school is getting protection from me. So God is giving protection to everyone, whether devotee or non-devotee. Those people are on the highway driving the car, also they are getting the protection also. The difference is they are not connected to the Lord, we are connected to the Lord. But protection is always there, God is protecting everyone. And
Well, when we serve Krishna, Krishna is the root of the tree. And we're all the leaves. So we are all connected to the same tree. So some people think you serve God, some people think you serve man, but we have to be respectful to all of them. We don't try to cause them suffering. So what does this mean? Well, a good place to start would be to drive properly, right? Don't drink alcohol when you drive, or don't drink alcohol at all. At least don't drink it when you drive. And don't obey most of or all of the traffic laws. Don't drive on the wrong side. Don't do these things, because we realize that all the people are parts and parcels of Krishna, and I need to respect them. You know, America, about 43,000 people are killed every year by cars, and in India, 143,000 people are killed by cars. And this could be diminished by people trying to drive correctly, not trying to run other people off the road, not trying to drive as a 14-year-old boy. They're supposed to go and get a proper license. Here I hear some people get a proper license, other people pay a bribe. Some people just get in a car and drive, but not correctly. So we realize that in our service to Krishna, we should do things properly. Also, in our engagements in this world, we should do things properly. Krishna says in the last verse of the 11th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita that we should be a kind friend to all living entities. And as far as the car, this means we should drive correctly and not cause difficulty or pain to others. That should be obvious. I'm not being a friend if I try to run people over or hit someone crossing the road. This is how this applies practically. Yes? But Krishna protects us. If we die and we go back to Krishna, we're okay. Anything else? Yes.
You were telling about Bahunam Janma Namante Gyanvam Mam Prapadyate. That after many births, the person is actually wise, surrenders unto Him. So we see that kind of forgetfulness comes when we die. So what exactly is that wisdom that is retained into us when we die and when we give birth? What is that wisdom?
Well, see, it's many births because it depends what we do. Christian idea, they draw a line. Some half, just by believing, go to heaven. Another half go to hell and suffer forever. But we find it's more like a company's balance sheet. One company may have lots of assets, very few debts. Someone else may have lots of debts and lots of assets. Did you spend more than you brought in? Did you get more spiritual credits? Or did you incur so many bad karmas? And Prabhupada is giving us in the verse what makes it take many births, by being a Buddha, or by being a Mayaprita Jnana, by thinking we know what's best, or trying to serve ourselves instead of Krishna. We're going to prolong this into many births because we don't surrender. So we can increase this amount of births or decrease it by how much we surrender to Krishna. When we don't surrender to Krishna, but as we're gaining some pious things, eventually Krishna helps us. Each thing we do when we turn to Krishna, Krishna helps us to do something more. And each thing we do to turn away, you get here, if you're trying to go to Himalayas and you turn south, the longer you go, the farther away you're going. You can turn around at any point, but the farther you go, the longer it's going to take. So we have to become wise. And if we're wise, we surrender to Krishna. And if we surrender to Krishna, we automatically become wise. So if we're not wise, we approach some people who are wise. This is why we read in Srila Prabhupada's books, and why I listen to tapes of Prabhupada's lectures and other people's, is I hear exactly what I need to hear. So if we surrender, we're wise. And if we're not wise, read these literatures and become wise. Give them to other people. Let them read them. Then they'll also become wise. Because you're not going to get there by your own mental speculation. That takes many births. But a few pious activities brings one there, starts getting one closer, but that's a slow process. You surrender, it's quick. That's the point. Yes?
You mentioned a very nice point on how a 5-year-old boy is not fearful of their intention because he is connected with Krishna. That is where the power is coming from. So I want to know, in our life, we depend on a lot of security. We take a lot of security measures. Like we want to have a house, we want to have bank balances, so all these things help us become more secure. So is depending on having these kind of security, or maybe when I'm driving, I want to wear my seat.
Here's what we want to do. In one sense, pure devotional service means that I'm 100% surrendered to Krishna. But Prabhupada says a Narthi Nivriti begins at 60 or 70% surrendered. So for us, we may not, like I ask people the question, that the Kanishta Adhikari is the easiest and the Uttama Adhikari is the best. So which one should we work at becoming? Which one? It's a trick question. We're supposed to work at becoming a Madhyama Adhikari. But because we want to become the Uttama Adhikari, but you can't really start there easily. Maybe some of you can. But I'm lucky enough just to try to worship Krishna and help the innocent, but stay away from the demons. So that means that maybe you have a place, but you don't depend on that place. And you make sure, it's like I put more money into helping build a temple. I put more money to TOVP and to Laguna Beach Temple than I did. I bought just a one-bedroom place here. Laguna Beach Temple struggles. It's a small temple in a small place. So I put more into that than the shelter I'm getting. I only have a one-bedroom place. Don't build a huge mansion. If money comes, I try to develop these projects. The temple at Laguna needs lots of help. So I try to do these things first. Because we may have a house, you may have investments, you may have family members. I have 2 children, 2 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchildren. No parents, no brothers and sisters, no wives, no girlfriends, but 2 children, 2 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchildren. And my granddaughter didn't want me to leave to come to Vrindavan, but I came because we have to be more attached. We may still love them and have these things, but we have to give more to Krishna at least than we do to those things. Maybe we're not ready to live under a tree like Rupa Goswami, but we should put more to Krishna than we do to the residents. That's where we start from. Does that sound good? All right. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all for coming.